Irish guy, and right, so the Champions League quarterfinals are done. Let's take a look at what happened then. Right, let's go. Atletico Madrid versus Man City.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Yeah, that was BT Sport last night. I mean, towards the end of the Champions League quarter-final, Glenn Hoddle and Darren Fletcher sounded like two royal duchesses plucked from the 18th century trying not to faint after walking into their husbands in the shower. Or, you know, as if someone flashed them their ankle in the church. Honestly, the way those two were going on, I mean, you'd swear Darren Fletcher had just seen Diego Simeone kick a dog in the face.
Atletico Madrid are bullies. They're far too rough.
I'm sorry, when did everyone suddenly turn into Reverend Lovejoy's wife? Diego Simeone's team have been doing this for years. Honestly, this isn't news. And what Simeone does, it works. Because everyone talks of the Premier League as being the powerhouse of Europe, right? The home of football. Well, Simeone has now faced off against 6 different English clubs in Europe, and he's kept a clean sheet against every single one. He is not afraid of the Premier League, but the Premier League is afraid of him. I mean, Atletico Madrid were doing this sort of stuff against Chelsea 8 years ago. Does nobody remember when John Terry and Diego Costa looked like they were about to tear each other's skin off their face? But honestly, that was a battle of men. It was like Godzilla versus King Kong. And now, we've got a Man City reject pulling Jack Grealish's hair. If anything, it's now a little bit wimpy. Honestly, pulling someone's hair, isn't this how Scouse housewives settle their beef on Hollyoaks? Honestly, that fat Birmingham fan put up more of a fight than this. But lads, Atletico Madrid are apparently everything wrong with football, right? And this is not what we want to see, right? Maybe they are a poison on the game. But last week I complained about the Premier League title race for not having enough needle and bite. So don't you tell me what I don't want to see. Atletico Madrid are pantomime villains. I mean, good grace, last night, once that war was over, this is what their own Twitter admin put up.
Proud of this team.
He knows what he's doing there. Even their internet team are wind-up merchants. I mean, the British Match Report make it sound like Atletico Madrid only turned up to fight. Like they're a bunch of drunken Millwall fans. I mean, that Antoine Griezmann spent the game putting out cigars on Kyle Walker's neck. No, nothing really happened until the 88th minute of the match. And even then, I mean, what actually happened? Apparently Stefan Savic gave Sterling a headbutt. No, I'm sorry. I've seen Shameless. I've also seen birthday parties in Blackpool. I know what a headbutt looks like. I mean, was Raheem Sterling licking nose blood off his lip? No, that was just a light head nuzzle. Headbutts are the language of Glasgow. Head nuzzles are the language of cats. But I mean, Jack Grealish was always going to wind up in a scrap with that Montenegrin centre half. You know, from his days growing up attending Birmingham derbies and absolutely hating Robbie Savage. I mean, honestly, he was always going to rub off Savage the wrong way. But honestly, we talk about players returning to former clubs and having a chip on their shoulder. I mean, this man was on the Man City payroll for a year. So I guess last night wasn't the first time he pocketed Sterling. A little bit of a currency joke, that one. Okay, that joke would have killed down the local post office, alright? But I mean, imagine if the police were investigating Savage's behaviour towards this English company. And I imagine they're surprised when they find out that he's a former employee. Of course he's a former employee. I mean, this is like if some mathematician nerd was sacked by Microsoft in 1997, and 15 years later, we find him taking a wee on Bill Gates' lawn and breaking into the local computer shop to smash every Xbox with a hammer. I mean, clearly, Manchester City was this man's dream move in 2011. So, imagine his disdain when they got rid of him after a year. I mean, similarly, Arsenal had rejected this guy after a 10-day trial in 2010, and the very next week he goes back to Partizan Belgrade and says this.
Partizan Belgrade, Stefan Savic promises to haunt Arsenal in the Champions League.
Honestly, this man, he hates rejection. I mean, 3 years ago, Chelsea got his hopes up by being heavily linked with him before the World Cup. I mean, nothing ever happened, so the next time he played them, he gets sent off for elbowing Rudiger in the face. You know, the guy who took his job. Clearly, he is the most insecure man in football. I hope this guy never goes through a divorce, because I just imagine he'll be turning up to his ex-wife's Tinder dates and trying to headbutt the new guy in the toilets. But in modern football, I'm convinced this man hates everything about Manchester City. I mean, back home in Madrid, whenever he hears someone listening to Oasis on the bus, he'll probably throw their iPod out the window. But why did he do it? I'll tell you why. Phil Foden, the English darling, he gets fouled, yes, and then I've counted it, he rolls 7 times. You know, as if he's Jack and Jill. But the damning part was, he actively rolls back onto the pitch to waste time. Of course Savage is going to be annoyed by that. But the British media did not mention that once. Instead, focusing on the fact that Savage is apparently just a monster with no motivation. Just a mindless zombie like Michael Myers, picking on Foden for no reason. No! People are blinded by emotion watching this. Do they not even realize what they just watched? I mean, in the player ratings, Big Daddy English company Sky Sports gave Savic a 5 out of 10 and Felipe, the left back red carded for kicking Foden, a 4 out of 10. Really? It's a defense who just kept a clean sheet against the most potent attack in the world and limiting them to just one shot on target. And you're giving them 5s and 4s? By contrast, French newspaper L'Equipe voted Savic as the man of the match. I mean, a Spanish publication gave Savic an 8.
Excellent at the heart of the Atletico defence.
And yet the BBC gave him a 4.49. Am I living in another reality? We've got Rio Ferdinand and Owen Hargreaves piously condemning Atletico. Okay, sure, the latter seems like the type of nice guy who wouldn't even dream of insulting a box of Cocoa Pops, but Rio? I mean, Stuart Downing said that Rio Ferdinand had a bust up a Dirk Kuyt in the Anfield tunnel. Apparently he punched him in the face. And we've got Neil Warnock criticising the behaviour of Simeone. Neil Warnock, is this a joke? Lads, this is what Atletico do. If you weren't expecting this, that's your own fault. I mean, it's like bringing your children to Jackass 4 and then complaining when they see someone get hit in the nuts. It's like turning up to a Scream movie and storming out when someone gets a knife in the face. I mean, come on, wise up. And am I the only one who enjoys having a team that everyone can hate? Honestly, at the end of the day, sport is entertainment. And Diego Simeone is football's answer to the Joker. An unapologetic madman. Honestly, would you have preferred if they'd all just shook hands and just walked off the pitch? Instead of us getting to watch a Blood and Thunder tunnel bus stop, instead we would just have been treated to the 58th, yes, 58th 0-0 draw of Simeone's reign at Atletico Madrid. 58 goalless draws, but he makes a goalless draw entertaining. Like any form of entertainment, football needs the bad guy. I mean, Jose Mourinho's been one for years. Diego Simeone is another. I mean, Christ, this guy's been the bad boy ever since he got Beckham sent off at the World Cup. Football without the villain is a lesser product. What would Atletico Madrid be if they were just a bunch of altar boys playing the mandolin while singing Kumbaya? I'll tell you this, they still would be waiting for the first Spanish League title since 1996. There'd have been no Champions League finals. Simeone would have been sacked in 2015 and would currently be working for someone like Sampdoria. Being the roughhousing bad guy, that is what has made Simeone the best paid manager in the world. I mean, in the same way, if Conor McGregor had just been a humble, boring, nice guy from Dublin, there would never have been a Floyd fight, no whiskey deal, and he'd probably still be living in his mum's attic. Atletico Madrid's success comes with them being the villain. I'll tell you this, if Pep Guardiola had given the Atletico Madrid job in 2011, there is no way he would have ever won the league. I'm not calling him a high maintenance princess, but give him the tools that Simeone had, and I do think it would be like asking Paris Hilton to fix a toilet. But on the other foot, give Simeone a 5-year contract at either Arsenal or Tottenham, and I promise you, he would deliver a Premier League title within 4 years. Admittedly, I thought he was burnt out at Atletico. No, he's proved me wrong. He is greatness. Bayern Munich versus Villareal. Oh, Julian Nagelsmann, you're in trouble. This man is supposed to be the genius wonder kid coach, right? Twice what? He's 34 years old and controls the reins of Bayern Munich. That's like the head of cardiology at New York's best hospital being someone too young to remember Drake and Josh. It's like the FA chairman being someone who still uses his mate's ID to buy a beer. The Champions League is full of the most experienced, brilliant minds in football. Julian was 11 when Man United won the treble. You know, one of the darkest moments in this club's history. He was just 18 when Liverpool beat AC Milan in Istanbul. I mean, when Bayern Munich lost the finals at Chelsea in their own ground in 2012, this fella was doing a sports science degree, probably living on a diet of chicken wedges at uni, and probably spending his weekends drinking beer off a dog's stomach. I'm gonna say, has the Bayern Munich job come too soon? And now, dumped out of the quarterfinals by Villareal, with Nigerian winger Samuel Chukwueze grabbing the late goal to silence Munich. I'm guessing Arsenal fans will be watching that match and single-handedly would have felt like wolfing down a muffin laced with poison. Not only are they watching the guy they paid £7 million to leave London, not only are they watching him become the first former Arsenal manager to reach the Champions League semi-finals, but Chukwueze, the saviour, he could have joined Arsenal in 2017 for just £4 million. They said no, and instead, his buyout clause is 100 million quid. But here's my prediction. Unai Emery is going to be the next manager of Real Madrid. Yeah, I know he was embarrassed in North London, but so was Juan de Ramos, and he still got the Real Madrid job. Honestly, the biggest club in Spain cannot just ignore this. He's just taken Villareal to the Champions League semi-finals. The last manager who did that, his next job was Real Madrid too. And he also went on to get sacked in London. I mean, this just makes sense. I mean, this is his second season. Last year, he broke the club record to go 18 games unbeaten. Oh yeah, and won the 4th Europa League of his career. Honestly, this competition, it's tough. People look at this and think to get to the Europa League final is like a trek to Mordor. Honestly, you have to play about 60 games, getting on planes to every corner of Europe, backpacking through muddy bogs to get to the airport in Gdansk. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the staff have to spend a week sharing a muddy mattress in a Kazakhstan Airbnb, drinking mouse soup, and trying to avoid the housemaid sawing off your foot while you sleep. When you begin the long Europa League journey, the final looks like a distant dream. Honestly, it's like turning up to a rainy preliminary X Factor audition in Grimsby and expecting to wind up on the same stage as Leona Lewis. But Emery, he has reached the Europa League final 5 times. He also reached the quarterfinals and semi-finals with Valencia. 12 years ago, this guy was just a nuisance, scraping a Champions League draw at Old Trafford before going on to nick a win at Stoke. But now, he's in a Champions League semi-final versus Liverpool. This guy is a genius. I mean, this is a team stuffed with Tottenham and Arsenal rejects. He's got a former Bournemouth winger chucked up front. His goalie was the 5th choice goalie at Man City. Just genius. But I'm surprised he's doing well in this competition because to me, I didn't think this was his bag. I think he proved that when he blew a 4-0 first leg lead with PSG. I thought he was one of these weird people who actually prefers the dregs of the Europa League instead of the pristine, polished party for the elite. I mean, I know, it's like that Prince Charming turning up to that medieval nightclub and ignoring the fancy princesses and instead choosing to get off with that grubby Cinderella behind some weedy bins, despite the fact that to most people there, she's clearly dressed in a bin bag, stinks of the poor, and oh yeah, her mode of transport is a Halloween fruit. But Emery is that Europa League hipster, or so I thought. I mean, to me, he's probably also the type of guy who, instead of queuing up for the premiere of cinematic masterpieces like The Departed, would much prefer to sit on his own watching Scary Movie 4. But to be fair, he's doing well in the Champions League too.
Thanks, Villareal. It's not even mashed, is it?
Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Chelsea fans must be gutted. Over the course of 2 legs against Real Madrid, you had 48 attempts at goal. You dominated 57% possession of the ball in both games. But honestly, nearly 50 shots? If I tried that in a nightclub, I'd be dead. But this was typical Real Madrid sloppiness. We saw this 4 years ago when Madrid won 3-0 away at Juventus. That should have been job done. No. They went back to the Bernabeu, and half the Madrid players, in their head, they're already smoking a cigar at the beaches of Miami. And yeah, Juventus find themselves 3-0 up after an hour. And similarly to this, it takes Madrid till the 97th minute to dig themselves out of a hole with a Ronaldo penalty. And here, yeah, it was a piece of magic from Luka Modric to set up Rodrigo. And then Karim Benzema in extra time. Tough for Chelsea, but honestly, weirdly, Timo Werner, he loves playing against just 2 teams. Southampton and Real Madrid. He hates playing everyone else. It's a bit weird. Pick your battles better, Timo. Liverpool versus Benfica. Job done? Listen, this aggregate score makes the tie look closer than it was, right? I mean, when the draw was made, offered Liverpool a 6-4 aggregate win. And they'd assume they'd have been sweating out their armpits for most of the games, right? Nah, comfy 3-1 win in Portugal. And here, they were 3-1 up after an hour. Listen, Benfica did well. Darwin Núñez is going to be a star. And it was nice for Roman Yaremchuk to bag a goal. I hope even the Liverpool fans applauded him. And I'm sure they did. But, other than that, yeah, job done, Liverpool. Anyway, that's what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to go like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.